I think by now, everyone has at least heard of, if not seen, The Walking Dead. Yep, it's that classic zombie apocalypse TV series where there's an airborne virus and as soon as you die, you're reanimated as this flesh-eating zombie. In this situation, a few things occur. First, the pandemic hits. Second, every supermarket runs out of toilet roll. And third, money is no longer a commodity and weapons become king. And the ultimate weapons, of course, are guns. Now, you can stock up on these all you want, along with ammunition, but eventually that ammunition is going to run out, purely because no one is manufacturing it anymore. You might say, sure, I'll reload my own. I've got loads of supplies, but can you make smokeless powder? Can you make primers? It's difficult, so eventually they're going to run out. So with this in mind, we go back to basics. That's right, cannons, muskets, and muzzle loaders. And not being able to produce primers or percussion caps easily, flintlocks are surely the way forward. Of course, you can do what I did when I was a kid and manufacture your own black powder, but it's a bit of a process to make good stuff. You can't just mix the three together. Well, you can, but it doesn't make good black powder. If you want to make good black powder, you mix the three chemicals, the potassium nitrate, charcoal and sulfur, you grind them up in a ball mill for hours, and then you press it into a big, hard lump. And then grind it up, and you make tiny little particles of what we call black powder. Because it's intimately mixed, each one of those chemicals is so fine and pressed together, it burns really quickly. Or you can find things that contain an explosive like gunpowder, such as fireworks, firecrackers, blanks, or even match heads. Most fireworks contain black powder. It's a propellant explosive. It's used to propel things into the air, like a rocket or a cannon. Now in a rocket, you have a big lump of black powder and a tiny hole where the hot expanding gases can escape from. And then Newton's third law comes into effect, that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if the hot expanding gases are coming out of this hole, then it propels the rocket that way. But can we use this powder in a muzzle loader? Can we simply scrape a bit out, grind it up, chuck it in a gun and make it work? I don't know. Do we have to process it? Do we need to make it like black powder, little granules, so that it's intimately mixed? Just like the other black powder you find in fireworks, to fire it off like a cannon. Or the stuff that you find in blanks and firecrackers. That's what we're going to find out. But you certainly don't want to be putting any old firecracker powder into a muzzle loader, because the majority of the time firecracker powder is flash powder, and this would simply blow it to bits. Here in the UK, all firecrackers have been banned for sale to the general public. But in Europe, you can still get them, like these ones in Germany. They have up to 5 grams of a really fine granular black powder. Now we know it makes a bang, so surely it's going to be good in a gun. You'd also be able to find really good black powder in fireworks such as these. Now these are cakes or barrages. It's a series of tubes connected up with a fuse. Now behind that fuse is a tiny bit of black powder which launches a unit, another tube up into the air just like a cannon, and then that unit explodes. That's got all the stars in it. But you certainly don't want to be using anything from there because that's guaranteed to be flash powder and again would just blow your gun to bits and probably take your hand with it. But the black powder that's actually firing these tubes is a really good grade of black powder. Essentially, it's acting just like a gun. So why wouldn't this work in a gun? Then there's match heads, which I'm a bit dubious about. I've seen lots of things on YouTube where people are taking off match heads and using them for various things, like firing guns. But it's a really slow burning composition. I mean, it's meant to be. You strike a match and it burns really slowly so it can ignite the wood behind it. And of course, you need a lot of matches to get a decent amount of powder. So will it work in a muzzle loader? I don't know. As you can see, I've processed all these powders already. And to make this experiment fair, I'm going to use 1 gram of each powder inside this flintlock. So what have I got? 60 matches to make 1 gram of powder. It takes a long time. Then the rocket, I've just scraped out a bit of the powder inside of that. That was pretty easy. The blanks, I've carefully peeled them apart. And it's taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 2 blanks to get 1 gram of powder. I've actually gone for over 1 gram of powder because we need to fill up the pan. So we probably need about 1.5 grams of each of the powders. Now, one thing I did find with the blanks is that these 8mm blanks, I was quite surprised about, they contain this stuff. I'll show you that. If it focuses, there we go. Now that's a nitrocellulose based powder, and you do not want to be putting any nitro powder into a flintlock or into any kind of black powder gun. Again, like flash powder, it would just blow it to bits. So what have we got? We've got match powder, rocket powder, firework powder, blank powder, firecracker powder, and then green powder. And green powder is just these things mixed. So potassium nitrate, charcoal and sulfur, ground up, but just mixed together. So no ball rolling, no processing. So I think that's it. I have an explosive license and everything will take place on this farm. And then when I've got a registered firearms dealer with me, with the Flintlock, everything we do will be under controlled conditions and completely above board and legal. I think we should start with one that we know is actually going to work. So probably the blank powder, then the firework powder, then probably the firecracker powder, because I think that looks very similar to the blank powder. Then rocket powder, green powder, and last of all match powder, because if it gets stuck in the breech, then we're a bit buggered. So it'll be back to the workshop to try and get it out. All right. Blank powder it is. Right, 1 gram. Down there. Right, so that goes on there. Yeah. It's tight with that patch. It's in now. Not much chance of me getting that out.
Try putting the patch.
I think we're all right. Yeah. I wouldn't have liked to have been in war with one of these things. Pull it back. Ready? Well, that worked really well.
I hope I didn't push that too soon. I pushed as you fired.
No, that's fine. Wow. I mean, that fired absolutely perfectly. There was barely any delay. It's black powder at the end of the day. It's going to do exactly that. Right. We'll check the Phantom. That's quite a significant hole. Blank firing powder worked really well, 1 gram, excellent shot. The next up is firework powder. Now this is a little bit coarser than the black powder that was in the blank firer. Granular again, but essentially it's just black powder. We'll see if this one works. We might have to grind up some of this so the flint will actually ignite it, because I don't know whether the flint will light it. The granules might just be a bit too big, but we'll give it a go. This one. First of all, see if I can grind it up with a lead ball. Don't think it needs to grind up much. I just need that spark to ignite it properly. I think that's enough. There's enough really fine stuff there now to ignite with the flint. So that'll be our prime. Firework powder, a patch, and a ball. I'm hoping there's enough granular stuff and enough powdered stuff that will actually ignite all right. So put that down, hold that in place. It really does need to get a spark right into there. It might need a bit more powder. Oh well, let's give it a go. Ooh. Well, that wasn't quite as powerful because there's no hole in the actual bucket. There it is. That's still gonna hurt. So the coarser firework powder obviously hasn't got as much power as the really fine grade stuff, but it's still pretty pokey. Next we're on to Firecracker Powder. Now the Firecracker Powder was very similar to the very first powder from the blank firing round. So I'm guessing it's going to work exactly the same, but let's give it a go. Okay, this is the Firecracker Powder. And if you have a look at it, this is really fine. This is finer than the blank firing powder. So I'm guessing this is going to go pretty well. And compare that to the firework powder. Let me bring back the firework powder. That's considerably more granular. Whew. Yep, just like we thought. That was the Firecracker Powder. It was really fine. There was a lot of energy there and it really went bang. Easy fire with that one. Great one. Firecracker Powder, really good. It didn't actually go through the can, but it felt like it had a lot more force than the last one, which obviously did. It burnt a lot quicker than the last one, so a lot of force. Now we're on something different. This is rocket powder. So this is from just an ordinary rocket and it's really fine. Interesting, I saw a spark there, but it didn't ignite the powder, which I'm very surprised about. Okay, let's try it again. Saw another spark. I'm not going to point it anywhere other than forwards. Right, let's have a look at that. Okay. I've put a bit more powder inside the touch hole and give it another go. Here we go. All right, it's all the way back. I really don't like this. When it worked, it worked. I honestly couldn't tell the difference between the Firecracker and that one. Nothing. Nothing. That was just a bit of rocket powder. Amazing. Amazing. This is all really interesting so far. So all of the black powders have worked pretty much the same. The rocket powder is black powder, but it's compressed and then it's really ultra fine. So the fact that it worked, I'm not surprised. The fact that it worked so well, I am quite surprised about. It was a lot more messy than the other powders. There's a few bits of the potassium nitrate that you can see actually in there. See the white bits? So I'll clean that off with my t-shirt because that hole is going to get bunged up. It looks pretty clean there. It looks pretty clean. Now we're on to the green powder. Now this is a different one. This is unrefined black powder. This is literally potassium nitrate, charcoal and sulfur mixed together. There's nothing else that's been done to it. It hasn't been pressed, it hasn't been corned. It is just a mixed powder. There's no ball rolling involved here. Who knows? I mean, this is as crude as you can go. Let's see if it works. And again, there's a lot that's stuck to the walls, but then we're going to put down the ball anyway with a patch. It'll probably be okay. Patch on top. Then our ball. Push that in. And all the way down. Oh. Okay. Don't know whether you saw that, but it's really fine powder, so that sprayed out all over me. A lot has come out of the touch hole. Don't really know what to do. The only thing I can do is try and get as much of it back into that touch hole as possible. and then go really slowly. Hammer back. I don't know what it's going to do. Literally, I think a quarter of that powder came out and sprayed all over me. Because it's so fine, it just came flying out that touch hole. If it doesn't fire, back to the workshop and try and get this ball out. Right. Here we go. No. I didn't actually see a spark then, but... Saw a spark. I think it might be harder to ignite this than I thought. Thinking about it, the potassium nitrate, charcoal and sulfur are literally just small grains. So we've got to melt that potassium nitrate before it reacts with that charcoal and sulfur before it ignites. So it might not go, might not go. Can see some wear on the flint now as well. Sparking well. I think what I'm going to do is saturate the entire thing with this powder. There's definitely more powder on that pan and in that fuse hole than in the actual gun. Let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, you can hear it. You can hear it burning. That pan burnt. I think the only thing I can do with this one is unscrew the touch hole, see whether we can get enough black powder in there to make it fire, because that ain't going. I think I've got enough powder in there. It's always good to have the correct tools for the job. Always, always, always. These are the correct tools, but it's just not the right job. Okay, black powder again. It should work, as long as the flint's all right. That really worked. That worked really well. I'm going to go for Firecracker Powder or any kind of black powder because that really works in a black powder gun. Funny that. Oh, that's a tiny amount. Okay, that actually worked really well. Really well. Didn't give the oomph like the other one did, but it works. Match powder works. There's certainly some dents on there. So in conclusion to this, everything but green powder works brilliantly in a flintlock gun. Chuck anything in it, it works. I managed to find 5 of the 6 bullets. Well, the 6th one wasn't a proper shot. I mean, the green powder just didn't work. The chemicals weren't ground up enough, it wasn't fine, it wasn't pressed together, so it just didn't burn consistently, and then it caused problems for the gun. But other than that, in a zombie apocalypse, if you need a gun that's gonna fire, and you can reload it all the time, you may as well get a flintlock. You chuck any powder in it, including match heads, which I was really surprised about, and it's going to fire. As long as it's not raining. And there's a few other problems with the Flintlock, like sometimes it doesn't fire, sometimes it doesn't spark. But other than that, it's really good. But the big downside to a muzzle loader, a Flintlock, is it takes a long time to reload. So you fire one shot, bang, it makes a big noise, all the zombies come running, and you've got 30 seconds to a minute to reload it. It's not going to happen. You're much better off going for something like this, a reloadable crossbow. Now this has got a 7-shot magazine. You cock it, it's ready to fire, bang. You cock it, it's ready again. You can probably fire a shot every second with this thing. And of course, we'll be selling these soon from gogun.uk. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you did, please hit that like and subscribe button. Muskets and muzzle loading pistols are all Section 1 firearms in the UK, so you need a pretty substantial licence to buy them. But if you're lucky enough to live in Germany, they're unregulated. So go to this website and you can buy them direct from gogun.de. And if you want one of these, you can get that from there too. But if you're in the UK, gogun.uk.